News at Noon starts right now.
Well, we have another update from Kerr County. They tell us that 96 people have lost their lives and 161 people are still missing. Well, in Kendall County, another 8 people were confirmed dead. That's according to the Kendall County Office of Emergency Management. Well, Kerrville Officer Jonathan Lamb saying in a press conference this morning that they are grateful for all the help that they have received.
We're so grateful for the amount of people who want to come to this community to help, but it's important that we have certified professional search teams out there right now. We have compiled a database of volunteers who have made themselves available, and if and when that time comes that we're able to call upon them, we will be calling upon them.
And some of the help coming to people in the Hill Country is from FEMA, and today the FEMA Disaster Recovery Center opened. Our Ernie Zuniga was there this morning. And Ernie, what do people need to know if they need help?
Stephanie, good afternoon to you. I think first and foremost, they just need to know that their help is available, and it's available right now as we speak. So if you're watching this or you are related to somebody that needs help, the FEMA Disaster Center is open at the First Baptist Church of Kerrville until 7 o'clock this evening, and that's just for today. I just wanted to kind of reset where we are here. We're outside the VFW here in Kerrville, and you see the Guadalupe River in the background here. It feels like it seems like it's way far in the distance, correct? But it's hard to believe that on Friday, July 4th, this river was not only where I am, but up to my head level, if not even higher. And it just puts in perspective. I must say though, Louise Hayes Park is over here to my left. We were here 24 hours ago, and it feels like, and it seems like there's been a lot of cleanup here. We saw yesterday a massive debris pile in the middle of this field with a large van in it being taken out alive on the air, and that entire pile is gone. And so definitely some progress is being made here. But back to that FEMA Recovery Center, again, ongoing till 7 o'clock tonight. If you are able to make it there, you sign in and you're essentially surrounded by agencies that are willing and ready to help. You'll be able to receive plenty of information, both English and Spanish, and some of it might make sense and seem like common knowledge. The Small Business Administration has low interest loans for people who have suffered some kind of physical damage or economic damage. There's also information on insurance for those who are insured and not insured. And then other things that I know I didn't really think about, but from the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, proper disposal of livestock carcasses, which again, if you're in, say, downtown San Antonio, that you might not think a lot about that, but here in Kerrville, that is certainly something that would be top of mind. So we were there bright and early, and the very first person to get there in line, the doors didn't open until 8 o'clock, was Wayne Donaghy, who lived about 5 blocks away along the Guadalupe River. He was there at about 6:30 and turned out to be the very first person in line. I had a chance to literally sit down with him at the front steps there of that FEMA Center with his cute little dog, Sassy, just to talk about the whole experience, kind of assess what had happened after his wife broke her shoulder falling into the river the other day. Their son is fine. He's doing okay. Their dog, as he said, Sassy, took a swim on the 4th of July in the Guadalupe River, but lived to tell about it. And reflected on a few things, including the outpouring of generosity, well wishes, and kindness that has come his way since the flooding tragedy.
God's putting people in front of me that needs to be put in front of me, and it's a good thing. Generosity of town is outstanding. Volunteers just show up at my house and help.
Now, just an update. So Wayne went in right when the doors opened at 8 o'clock, and my colleague Sarah Acosta has caught up with him. He just finished within the last 90 minutes with all the paperwork and all the stops he needed to make there. And he, I understand, invited Sarah to go see his house, and they're going to connect, and Sarah will have more on him, kind of a follow-up to his situation and what he's going through in later newscasts here on KSAT 12. In the meantime, our KSAT crews also got a look past the media blockade at some of the damage here in the Hill Country. Our Devin Karp is here with a look at what he saw and what he heard this morning from first responders.
Yeah, Ernie, we were one of the first crews to go past the media line here towards Hunton Junction Highway, and I gotta say, the scale of what we saw is almost nothing compared to what we've been able to see before. There are hundreds upon hundreds of emergency crews there working, searching, and trying to rescue anyone they can find, hoping to bring some closure to families. I was able to speak with some of the first responders out there who say that they can try to train for something like this, but the scale that has happened because of this devastating and deadly flood is unlike anything that they could prepare for. There's about 300 of them right now as part of the crews. They are working tirelessly. This is also the first day that some volunteers have been activated to go past that line and start to gut through a lot of the homes. Now, for anyone at home who doesn't know what I'm talking about here, if your house gets flooded, you basically have to strip it entirely to the baseboard, cut through the drywall, bring out the carpet so it can be dehumidified and get rid of some of the bacteria with spraying in the sealant, that repellent, to make sure they can start to rebuild. This has been some of the first times there. I also was speaking with some of the crews there. We were able to see just how much work they have to do ahead of them. When we asked questions about how long they think they're going to stay there or even what percentage done they've had, we were not able to get an answer. They said they are going to be here indefinitely. There is no time to this scale, and they say that they've made some progress, but there is still so much more to do. Now, one thing that crews were able to tell me they were excited about for tomorrow was the arrival of President Trump. That has been confirmed by the Ingram Volunteer Fire Department behind me, who says that they hope this will help to continue to shine a light on the situation here, bringing both national and federal dollar attention to the area. They say the disaster declarations that have happened here have been especially helpful, allowing them to get more machinery, more crews, bringing in more help and more supplies. They said they want to thank everyone who's donated all of their time, their valuables, their money, even bringing in crews to come help with some of these efforts. But they say now it is just a very, very long process. They are going to start asking volunteers if they would like to come up in person to do so eventually. We'll have some more of those details later on in KSAT.com and in our later newscasts. But for now, the scale of everything that I saw was truly shocking to see. First responders are doing some incredible work out there, but this is a heavy, heavy task ahead for them. They're all dealing with the trauma in different ways, but say what brings them out day after day, coming back to do this grueling work, is supporting the community and doing the best they can to bring some of their families this closure whenever possible. We'll continue to follow up with this, and we'll be able to show you more of this video coming up later on KSAT.com and some of our other KSAT newscasts. For now, I'll go ahead and I'll send it back to y'all in Ingram. Devin Karp, KSAT 12 News.
Well, yes, it is a heavy task for those first responders out there, but thank you to Devin, who is live in Ingram, and also to Ernie, who's live in Kerrville.
Yes, very much so. And one thing I noticed, there were two things actually. It was sunny and it was windy when both Ernie and when Devin were both out there. And really, we're not tracking any rain chances today, which is very much great news. But we're still going to see those sunnier skies and a little bit of those breezy winds. Take a look at the current wind gusts. Most of the wind gusts are out of the south, which is helping bring that southerly flow, those warmer temperatures. Wind gusts already about 20 miles per hour at the San Antonio airport, 22 in Converse. But in the hill country near Kerrville and Comfort, they're seeing the winds up to about 19 to even 20 miles an hour. So it's definitely going to continue to be a little on the breezier side. Now, temperatures still going to be a warm day. Temperatures right now sitting at around 87 degrees in San Antonio, 82 in the hill country near Bernie and Kerrville, where they are seeing a little bit of some cloud coverage, but once again, they are continuing to just have extra moisture as well. The humidity up in the hill country, 62%. So it's still going to feel a little muggier and a little stickier for folks up there, but temperatures throughout the day increasing to about 92 degrees in San Antonio. Quickly continuing to see our temperatures slowly decrease, but not only are we seeing some sunnier skies, we're also seeing a little bit of some air quality issues. We're starting to see a small plume of Saharan dust enter in areas of South Texas. Now in San Antonio and even the hill country all the way to the border, we're just seeing that light, maybe a little bit of moderate, but mostly that light just inconveniences. But Houston, they're tracking some moderate issues with the air quality. And for us, it's really going to continue to be light as we head throughout the rest of your day, even as we head into the early hours of tomorrow. I'll break down that, plus take a look at the latest drought monitor and what all the rain contributed, what led to that, coming up in just a bit, Steph.
Thank you, Shelby. Well, even more questions may be answered in Austin soon. That's because Governor Greg Abbott has called for a special legislative session. The packed agenda includes a look at legislation for flood warning systems, emergency communications, natural disaster preparation and relief funding, and the special session will also tackle some other legislative priorities like a potential ban on THC products and statewide redistricting. Well, workers affected by recent flooding in Kerr County can now apply for disaster unemployment assistance through the Texas Workforce Commission. The support will be available to those unable to work due to storm damage, including self-employed individuals. Applications must be submitted by September 4th, and applicants should specify their claim is related to hill country flooding. So for more information or to apply, Texans can visit the Texas Workforce Commission website. 2 cell phone carriers are helping people in the hill country stay connected while trying to rebuild. Verizon is waiving all domestic call, text, and data fees from now until August 3rd for their customers in 95 hill country and South Texas zip codes. This includes Verizon's prepaid brands like TracFone and Straight Talk. Meanwhile, AT&T is waiving overage charges on customers until August 3rd as well. To find out if your phone bills are being waived, you can head over to our website at KSAT.com. Well, Texas communities continue to come together and lift the most vulnerable in the wake of these devastating floods, including Methodist Healthcare Ministries, committing $3 million to support flood relief and recovery efforts for those communities impacted by the devastating flooding. $1.15 million will provide emergency housing, shelter, operations, grief counseling, and mental health services, plus any other immediate needs identified by local partners. The rest of the funding will ongoing emerging community needs as recovery continues. Well, in response to the devastating 4th of July floods, KSAT 12, KPRC, our parent company, Graham Media Group, and Gray Media have united to launch an urgent donation drive called Together for Texas. So you can scan that QR code on your screen to take you directly to that donation page. The campaign aims to support relief and recovery efforts for families and communities severely impacted by the disaster. All of the funds raised will go directly to on-the-ground efforts in flood-affected areas through the Salvation Army. Now, so far, people have donated nearly $150,000, and we want to thank you for your generosity. Well, flooding comes with the obvious dangers, but that water could pose other risks to your house. Some advice from a doctor on ways to avoid the dangers that are lurking beneath the floodwaters and all that debris. A Texas woman is using her platform to help flood victims. How the Florist has organized now a statewide effort to make memorial flower arrangements. Well, as the list of identified victims grows, people across the state are finding ways to honor the lives lost. Well, Florist in Houston is organizing a statewide effort to provide memorial floral arrangements for victims in the Hill Country. Kimmy Gibson says she watched tragedy unfold last week and knew she had to help. So she started making flower arrangements for the families who had lost loved ones, but she realized she needed help, so she went to social media and found people to pitch in. And she says businesses in Houston are also helping and have agreed to pay for flowers and other materials. And when it reaches the family, gives them plans to match them with a florist close to home.
I'm going to connect the florist with the family, whichever city that they're closest to, and then I'll put them in contact with each other. When it comes to these floral arrangements, that we want to do the best to honor the person who passed.
Well, Gibson says anyone impacted by the flooding is welcome to contact her for help with a funeral floral arrangement, and you can find her on Instagram at Glorious Creations, or you can visit her website, gloriouscreations.com.
Taking a look outside with live cam, and basically all we see is sunny skies. There's a little bit of the haze and a little bit of some smaller cumulus clouds, but otherwise no rain today, and not even anything really on authority radar. But because we've seen so much rain the last few days, pollen, molds are still relatively high, just over 9,000. Grass finally pops up today at about 10, but we've seen a lot of rain for areas of the hill country, and the aquifer is continuing to be down. I'll break down what you need to know coming up after the break.
Well, we have seen a lot of rain these past couple of weeks, especially this last week. But I understand as far as numbers overall, still in a drought, I guess.
Yes, so it's Thursday, so the latest drought monitor is out, and that's something we've kind of started watching every Thursday is what the most recent rainfall is going to mean and what it means for us here in South Texas. So not only did Texas see heavy rainfall, other portions of the country also saw some heavy rainfall. Just take a look at the rainfall of the last week or so. You can see there's a few bullseye areas, but the biggest one noted is in areas of the Texas Hill Country and even in areas of central Texas. So I wanted to zoom in specifically on our neck of the woods. Here is how much rain fell over the last week in areas just to the north, just near Kerrville, Bandera County, even going up into central Texas. That's where they saw the heavy amounts of rain. I even outlined where the drought monitor was last week. Now, like I mentioned, this was last week's drought monitor. We saw that there was still that exceptional drought in areas of central Texas. That does include areas of Kerr County going down to Bandera, Medina County, Uvalde, even western Bexar County as well, going up to Fredericksburg. Now, beyond that, we also saw that extreme drought in areas of Bexar County going down to Atascosa. Here's today's drought. A difference. Now, he still left that white outline just to show you what the exceptional drought was last week. Now we're only really seeing that exceptional drought in areas of Medina County. It's now out of Bexar County. It's out of Kerr County, up near Bandera, but now in the Hill Country, they're just seeing that severe, even that moderate to just dry category, which just shows you how much rain they actually got last week. Now in Bexar County, in San Antonio, we're still in that extreme category, but still northern Bexar County, just outside of 1604, even going to areas of Seguin, they're in that severe because they saw some heavy rainfall, not only Friday morning, but also Saturday. Areas of Seguin saw some isolated flooding in locations on Saturday. So they're now not even in that severe category, or if not right on the border, they're now in that moderate category to dry. Once again, I'll show you. This was last week's drought monitor. We saw that severe category going up all the way to Austin, where they also saw heavy amounts of rainfall. And this is this week's. Still seeing that extreme down in Atascosa County, closer to Floresville, but definitely a difference for most of us today in most of south central Texas. Now, the aquifer levels, the reservoir, the aquifer is down today once again, but the lake levels are continuing to increase. Medina, before all of the rain really started, they were at about 2.5%, maybe 3%. Today, they're at 5% full. That is a major difference for Medina County, or for Medina Lake. Canyon Lake's up to 63%. Before all this, they got to 11 and 12 feet just since July 4th. Last week. Now, like I mentioned, other areas across Texas also saw some rain. Travis Lake and Lake Buchanan also up to about 67 and 81%. Now, once again, Canyon Lake still has plenty of rain and plenty ways to go because they act like a catcher's mitt before it continues to go down the river. Right now, though, good news, nothing on authority radar, and we're not expecting really anything today for most of us here in south central Texas. Today's just going to be a normal day. It's going to be feeling very summer-like. We're still going to have temperatures, though, increasing. Right now, we're sitting in those 80s, 87 degrees at the San Antonio airport, 83 as you get into areas near Kerrville, Comfort, in the Hill Country, because they still have that excess moisture. So they're feeling and sitting a little cooler, but it's still going to feel a few degrees warmer. 94 degrees expected later today in areas of San Antonio, 94 in areas near Sabinal. And throughout the next few days, yes, we're going to see some sort of rain chances return to the forecast, but tomorrow it's only 10%, and even Saturday and Sunday it's only 20 to 30%. So it's not going to be a big washout. It's going to be similar to what we saw on Sunday and even let alone yesterday, where it's going to be very isolated. However, it still can have some impacts for those in the Hill Country still doing recovery efforts.
Thank you, Shelby. A lot less than we're used to seeing here now. Well, TxDOT crews are on the ground in the Hill Country fixing roads that were completely washed away from Friday's deadly flooding. A spokesperson tells us that some large chunks of road and concrete traveled miles down the Guadalupe River. Their crews are helping move and cut through some of that debris, but also working to repave roads for first responders and people that live there. Highway 39 and FM 1340 are still closed for miles west of Hunt and Ingram. TxDOT tells us that some of the hardest hit areas along Highway 39 include Schumacher Crossing and La Casita Crossing. Recreation access to the Comal and Guadalupe rivers in New Braunfels has reopened. City staff have cleared debris from the river. However, visitors are advised to be cautious of submerged debris that may not be visible. So city officials say anyone visiting should wear life vests during any water-related activities for safety. Well, as crews work to help people in the Hill Country, it is important that they keep their safety in mind as well, the dangers that could be lurking in floodwaters. We'll take a look at this. The memorial is now up in downtown Kerrville. It includes colorful flowers and pictures of those affected by the catastrophic flooding. Well, in the wake of the floods in the Hill Country, it is important to note that it's not just your mental health that can take a hit, but also your physical health. Doctors say people are at risk for infections and injuries from contaminated floodwaters. Well, we spoke with the chief of podiatry at UT Health San Antonio, and he told us that survivors and first responders need to take precautionary measures. Now, infections may not immediately appear, but they can develop 3 to 5 days after an injury, which would be right now for anyone possibly impacted by Friday's flooding. Well, signs of infection include fever, redness, or pus around wounds, and general weakness. So if untreated, infections can lead to sepsis, a life-threatening condition requiring urgent hospital care.
Standing water is what's dangerous, and it contains a lot of bacteria from the runoff from the land, and that runoff contains a lot of the animal feces and waste from farms and just animals that are wild animals, and so that bacteria gets into the water and it can cause unusual infections.
Well, here are some tips to keep safe for those involved in rescue or those cleanup efforts there. Wear protective gear like waterproof boots and waders if you are standing in the water, and also wear gloves if you're digging through that debris. And if you don't have waterproof gear, be extra careful to avoid sharp debris. Make sure that your tetanus shot is also up to date. Well, it's not just people that need help in the Hill Country. Pets needing some help as well. How groups are working to meet that need. Well, at this hour, we have crews all over the Hill Country, and that includes our Ernie Zuniga, who has been in Kerrville all morning and joins us again live. Ernie.
Hi, Stephanie. Good afternoon. So we're not too far from where we were a little while ago. We're actually behind the VFW here in Kerrville, where this is a whole other scene. Beyond this trailer are kayaks and heavy lifting equipment, excavators, those kinds of things. And I have Faraz here with me from Humanity First. I'm learning about your organization. Dates back 30 years, and you got here from the Dallas area yesterday, and you did not show up empty-handed.
Not at all, not at all. We brought 8,000 bottles of water. We brought a hydraulic dump trailer. We have chainsaws, we have equipment. We have lots of volunteers on route this weekend from a wide variety of all sorts of different types of experience levels. We have doctors, we have kids, we have people that have served in natural disasters all over the world. At this point, our ask is to try to find people that need help, and we will fulfill whatever they need.
So essentially what he's saying is if you are watching this and you've been impacted by the flooding, or you know somebody who has, reach out. And the information, we made it easy. It's literally right here behind us, humanityfirstusa.org, or that 877-99-HF-USA. But essentially get in contact with Faraz, and he has a team of volunteers standing by with things like saws and chainsaws and that equipment. They will come do the work. So in other words, you're not loaning out this equipment, obviously. You're going to go out there and do the work yourself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're a nonprofit organization. We have donations coming in within our community and from friends and family, clients, whoever we know. They're supporting us financially, and whoever needs help, we'll come and do whatever they need.
I would think of like the elderly or those people who they may have had power tools, but they all got washed away or whatever, and they have nothing to. They've got a big mess, but they have nothing to clean it up with.
Yeah, I think that they need to show up to VFW or places like this. Just a personal thought. Before I showed out here, we had this impression that maybe volunteer help was not needed, but after showing up here, I think that it's a misconception. I think that there's still lots of help, still needed here. They need resources here. I don't think they need any more water, but anything else I think is still needed here.
Yeah. And by the way, if you've ever wanted to know what 8,000 bottles of water looks like, there you have it. And essentially, this water is just waiting right here for people to come and claim it, or how can people who are watching this within the sound of my voice get this water?
So we're dropping off at several different locations. We're over here at VFW, if I'm not mistaken. They just need to come here and ask.
Yeah, and there are piles and piles of snacks and diapers, basic needs, just like that, the things that a lot of us would just take for granted, right, if we had not been impacted by all of this. And so he quite literally, Faraz, is literally on standby here, just waiting for the phone to ring or to be deployed, if you will, out to somewhere in the community. You've got the truck and the trailer literally standing by, and yes, you could leave in a matter of minutes, right?
Yes, just a matter of minutes. We're actually waiting on a Bobcat to arrive here any second. That will kind of help us, cover a lot more ground.
So when you got here yesterday and you got to see this for the first time in person, how did it move you? What was your takeaway?
It's really overwhelming, honestly. Like, I can't imagine where we're standing here right now. It was all, completely flooded with water days ago. I can't imagine, what that site looked like or felt like or sounded like. The amount of loss that has happened in this community, I think it's unlike any other disaster we've ever had. And I think everyone right now might be in a slight state of shock.
Probably. Did you say it was 3 inches or 3 feet of water here? 3 inches of water. So where I'm standing, which is couple hundred yards away from the river, here at the VFW, they were almost not even able to use this facility to store all these things and kind of like a command post because it was full of water. But the volunteers came in, got it taken care of, and now this is a safe, air-conditioned, climate-controlled place to store all this water and all of these supplies and everything. Well, listen, all the best to you, Faraz. Nice to meet you, man. Enjoy your time as much as you can here in Kerrville.
Thank you, sir. I guess we just need a lot of prayers.
Yeah, no, I think that's very well said. Appreciate that. One more time, let me get out of the way so you can see humanityfirstusa.org is the website. Or you can call toll-free 877-99-HFUSA. And Faraz is ready, and he's got more people that are on their way to help just clear out and hopefully begin the process of getting back to normal. All right, so that is the scene for right now here on this Thursday afternoon in Kerrville. I'm Ernie Zuniga, KSAT 12 News.
All right, Ernie, thank you for that live report, and thank you to Humanity First and all the volunteers and crews and first responders out there.
Yep.
This afternoon as it continues to warm up.
Yes, they're definitely going to want to be drinking the water. Wear some sunscreen, try to find some shade. Now, we're not seeing any rain chances today, but what we are seeing is a light layer of Saharan dust on top of the temperatures being so warm and on top of some humidity. This is a look at our current temperatures. 87 degrees in San Antonio, 90 already in Stinson, still a little cooler in the hill country, but they're still seeing some muggier conditions. 71 is the dew point in the hill country in areas of comfort, 68 in Kerrville. So although, yes, it's going to be relatively dry today, we're still feeling that extra humidity. Now, like I mentioned earlier, we're starting to see a little bit of that Saharan dust layer pop up, and this is a look at the satellite imagery from the GOES-19 satellite. It's very light, if anything. You can't even really tell here on the satellite, but what you do know is that it is still causing some air quality issues for some. If you are very sensitive to the Saharan dust, you might want to take some allergy meds, as we're seeing some light layer in areas basically along I-10 going down 35 and 37 to Corpus Christi and Cotulla, seeing kind of a bullseye. But the good news is it's not going to stick around for long. And in fact, it's not even really going to continue to stick around for San Antonio as much as it is for areas of Houston. They're continuing to see a heavier plume of some of that dust move into areas as we head throughout the rest of your afternoon. But as it moves to Houston, it's really going to continue to lighten up in areas of San Antonio overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. And after the sun sets, you won't even really be able to tell about the dust. And it's already going to be gone by around 8 a.m. tomorrow. But what we do continue to have is not only are we going to continue to see some of the Saharan dust leave, we're also going to see some of the rain chances really start to leave today. We do have more coming up on the way, but coming up, we'll take a look at the aquifer, what the levels are today, plus take a look at how much rain fell along that and contributed to our latest drought monitor stuff.
Thank you, Shelby. Well, crews are not just searching for missing people in the wake of the deadly flooding. They're also looking for pets, what to know if you're trying to reunite with a missing pet, plus how anyone can help pets in need. Well, the search for those missing is still underway, and just to give some perspective of the daunting task that crews have ahead of them, this is a map showing the roughly 80-mile stretch from the headwaters in Hunt all the way to Canyon Lake. And among the search for survivors are those looking for beloved pets. The nonprofit shelter Austin Pets Alive has rescued more than 150 animals since the severe flooding event. Well, it's in Kerrville, right, not to help, so Kerrville Pets Alive. So this dog named Superman was found by the group on a pile of debris. Unfortunately, his human did not survive. The group says he is in a temporary home until his other family members can take him.
There's not as many lives saved as you want, but there is these glimmers of hope that keep everybody going.
Well, anyone missing a pet or wanting to report a pet in distress in the Kerrville area can contact Kerrville Pets Alive, and that number is 830-200-0539. They also have a search and rescue form on their website, so if you'd like to make a donation, you can do that through Venmo. It's also linked on the Kerrville Pets Alive website, and of course, you can find all this information on our website, that is KSAT.com. Another way you can help is by becoming a foster, and you can do that right here in San Antonio. So San Antonio Pets Alive posted on its Instagram page that it is seeing an increase in young litters being brought into San Antonio.
Taking a look outside, we're already starting to warm up. Our temperature is still sitting in those 80s, and we still have some extra leftover moisture and humidity, which is allowing our current heat indices to be a few degrees warmer. Already feels like 91 degrees in San Antonio, 88 in areas of Hondo in the Hill Country, but this is how much rain fell just since July 1st. That black line, that's the contribution zone for the aquifer, and we saw anywhere from 12, 13 to even 14 inches of rain in Kerr County, but along the aquifer in the recharge zone, we only saw about 2 inches, so there is still some slow improvement to the aquifer. I'll break down that, plus take a look at the latest drought monitor coming up after the break.
Well, just a reminder that the FEMA Disaster Recovery Center is open now. It is located at First Baptist Church, and that is on 625 Washington Street in Kerrville. And Ernie Zuniga was there this morning as the first people lined up for help.
There's not as many lives saved as you want, but there is these glimmers of hope that keep everybody going.
Well, the FEMA Disaster Recovery Center will be open until 7 o'clock tonight, and you can apply for FEMA aid online. Just go to disasterassistance.gov. There's also a FEMA app that you can download to your phone. You can also call the FEMA helpline. That number is 1-800-621-3362, and this is from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Well, Governor Greg Abbott has ordered all Texas flags to be lowered to half-staff across the state in memory of those who lost their lives in the devastating flooding over the July 4th weekend. Now, the flags should stay at half-staff until sunrise on July 14th. And so many families still mourning for lost loved ones, and then a lot of families who are still waiting for word on their missing loved ones. A lot of people impacted by all the destruction in the Kerr County area.
For sure, our hearts go out to all the folks affected. And we saw a lot of rain over the last week, not only just within the last week for areas of eastern Bexar County and areas of Guadalupe County near Seguin, but the Hill Country. They saw heavy amounts of rain. And here's how much rain fell over the last 7 days. We have a few bullseye areas. One, as we know, in areas of Kerr County, even going up to closer to Fredericksburg. But we also saw some heavier rain closer up into areas of Austin. Once again, near Burnett County, they continue to see all those heavy rain. And where you see almost those like whitish and those gray colors, that's where they saw almost 2 feet of rain. Now, once again, we didn't see any of that here in San Antonio, but the Hill Country, once again, zooming in on Kerr County, closer to Ingram and Hunt, and even going up on the other side of I-10, they saw heavy amounts of rainfall. They saw anywhere between 11, 13, even as you get closer to Los Maples, 11 inches of rain. Now, I am going to highlight where the drought monitor was last week, or the exceptional drought. Now, that does include Kerr County going up into areas of Gillespie County through Medina, Bandera. Now, remember, last week, the drought monitor, also the exceptional drought, did include Western Bexar County. This is what we saw for last week's drought monitor. I want it known once again, that's the exceptional drought. It's the worst case scenario for the drought. This is today's. A big difference where you saw that white outline, that exceptional drought. It did include Kerrville. It no longer does. They went from the exceptional drought, which is the worst, down two levels of the drought. So they're now just sitting at that severe category. And even then, as we zoom in areas of Fredericksburg, they also were right on the cusp of that exceptional drought. Now they're right on the cusp of just being normally dry. Closer to Bexar County, once again, we continue to see what was the exceptional drought just to the western side. Now, just in that extreme northern and even northeastern Bexar County is now just in that severe category. So I'll show you once again what we were last week for the drought monitor. Also note, just to the west of Hondo and even in western Uvalde County, they were in that extreme. Today, they continue to also see some improvement. So it was very much improvement for most of the county and most of south central Texas today with the latest drought monitor. And this is why. When they release the drought monitors, they have to take a few things into account. They talk about the aquifers, how the spring flows are doing, the lakes, the reservoirs, and the stream flow. All these factors contribute to the latest drought monitor when it's issued week by week. Now, the Edwards Aquifer today is down about half a foot, but we're still below our average. But the good news is the lakes and the reservoirs are up. Canyon Lake is up to about 63% full. Since July 4th, it's gone up 12 feet. Medina Lake has gone up 11 feet. We're up to 5% in Medina Lake now. Now, Travis and Buchanan Lakes, like I showed you earlier, they also saw heavy amounts of rainfall, where Travis Lake is up to about 67% full. Lake Buchanan's up to about 81%, and they only have about 8 feet left until they hit their conservation pool. Now, like I mentioned earlier, we do have more rain chances on the way. But the good news is we're not expecting widespread heavy torrential downpour. It's going to be very light. It's going to be isolated at times. Don't be surprised if you hear some rumbles of thunder, but that's going to be Saturday and Sunday. About a 10% chance of rain tomorrow, and then we're continuing to dry things out as we start off next week, starting to see more sun return Monday and Tuesday as well for most of us here in South Central Texas. We'll be right back after the break.
Well, now to some other top stories we were following this noon. A 5-year-old boy is dead after being left in a hot car. Now, San Antonio Police Chief William McManus says the boy's mother learned about his death after she tried to pick him up from the Pinnacle Kids Academy on Carson Hill Drive, where he was enrolled. Now, an employee told the woman he had not been dropped off. McManus said the mother thought she had dropped off her son that morning before going to work, like she does every day. We are told she had not. Instead, the young boy was left in her vehicle all day while she was at work nearby. At last check, no criminal charges have been filed against the mother. The police chief calling it a sad reminder of the importance of not leaving humans or pets inside parked vehicles. Now, President Donald Trump's Day 1 executive order seeking to end birthright citizenship will be back in court today. Proceedings in a Concord, New Hampshire federal courtroom will stand as a first test of how lower courts will respond to a recent U.S. Supreme Court decision. Attorneys are asking for protection of a class of individuals to include all current and future children and their parents who would be affected by President Trump's executive order. If the judge agrees to certify that group, he will then decide whether to issue a new injunction that would effectively block the Trump executive order nationwide.
Throughout the rest of your afternoon, expect temperatures to increase to about 94 degrees. And remember, because we do have some extra moisture just sitting in areas of south central Texas, it can feel a little warmer. Heat index can be potentially past triple-digit heat. However, after the peak day, your peak temperature of the day, we're going to continue to see our temperatures slowly but surely decrease back into those 80s, and we're going to continue to have those mostly clear skies today. Tomorrow, we start to see some partly cloudy skies and the rain chances return. However, it's not going to be a big washout. It's just going to be some very isolated to even some scattered rain chances, especially on Saturday. I know it may impact your weekend plans, but we'll keep you posted throughout the weekend. But good news is, Steph, we're finally drying things out longer than just a day and a half starting on Monday and Tuesday. But it's also going to get a little toastier too.
Yeah, so well, at least the rain won't be there to hamper the crews who are still in Kerr County. Thank you, Shelby. So. And thanks for joining us, and we'll have continued coverage in our later newscast and KSAT.com.